But we begin tonight with the smearing of Shirley Sherrod. The White House apologized to her today, so did the guy who fired her, and she's been offered a new job. We'll talk to her in a minute to see if she is going to accept that job. But the damage has been done, and a woman who gave a speech about the change in her outlook and her heart has been dragged through the mud and has had to prove she's not a racist. This can happen to anyone, and it's not right. Imagine it happening to you. The truth is, it can happen to anyone, and the truth does matter. But we live in an age where that simple fact is increasingly lost. As people on the right and the left, people view things through the prism of politics and ideology, seek to score points by scoring scalps. Cable news is part of the problem, there's no doubt about that. The left and the right have their own anchors who only report on the stories that suit their slant. That's their right. But we think the truth matters. It's even worse on the internet, where there are no standards and where anonymity allows for the cruelest expressions of vitriol and hate. Now, if you watch much of the coverage of Shirley Sherrod today, what seems to have been lost in much of it is the man who first posted this video, which was clearly edited to deceive and slander Ms. Sherrod. His name is Andrew Breitbart. Now, I don't know him, I've never met him, but watching him try to weasel his way out of taking responsibility for what he did to Ms. Sherrod today is a classic example of what is wrong with our national discourse. Andrew Breitbart is a conservative, but of course there are liberals who are just as narrow-minded and who also refuse to admit when they are wrong. Breitbart posted the clip on Monday on his website. Nearly everything Mr. Breitbart said about Shirley Sherrod was either wrong or somehow slanted to make a larger point about racism in the NAACP. He initially said her speech showed a government official who allowed racist views to influence her work with a white farmer. But we now know it was a speech about her change of heart 24 years ago when she wasn't even at the USDA. Today, Mr. Breitbart could have just apologized, said he was wrong, but he didn't. Bullies never do, nor do ideologues in our divided country. Instead, he now claims this was never about Ms. Sherrod. It was about the NAACP and what he says is their racism based on the audience's reaction to her speech. Here's what he said last night on John King USA.
This tape is about the NAACP. Its raison d'etre is about non-discrimination. And when Shirley Sherrod is talking there, in which she expresses a discriminatory attitude towards white people, the audience responds with applause, and the NAACP agrees with me, and it rebuked her.
Well, the fact is there was no applause when Ms. Sherrod was talking about the white farmer. And we'll talk to members of the audience who were there that night about the reaction that they saw and heard and that they themselves had. Now, Breitbart also said today that there were cheers over racist comments. Again, the facts do not bear him out. The truth matters. The closest Mr. Breitbart came to an apology today was this comment.
I feel bad that they made this about her, and I feel sorry that they made this about her. I'm not sure if that was done because they rushed to judgment or whether they wanted to make it about Shirley versus me, because that's what it's become.
He goes on to say he's sympathetic to what Ms. Sherrod has gone through. Notice the passive voice here, because his words, quote, they went after her and not the NAACP. It's like the arsonist saying, I'm sorry, ma'am, for the water damage done by firefighters. He started the fire. Andrew Breitbart said the clip he first posted proved black racism happening now at the USDA and the NAACP. It didn't. He said it proved racism in the crowd. You can decide for yourself about that. We'll play you the tapes and we'll hear from audience members. He claims to feel sorry for the victim, but blames others acting on his misleading information for hurting her. It was a phony story. It isn't the first, and it isn't the first about race. But why let the truth stop you when you're making political points? That's why a lot of people seem to think these days, on the left and the right. Now, you can blame the media for acting as a conveyor belt. You can blame the Obama administration for being hypersensitive about race. Race baiters, smear artists, and game players have learned that trumped-up stories about race pay off because people care about race. But they care more, we think, about the truth. And the truth matters. It certainly does to Shirley Sherrod, and certainly should to all of us. Now, as we mentioned, the White House apologized today, then so did her former boss at the Agriculture Department, Secretary Tom Vilsack. Here's what he said.
This is a good woman. She's been put through hell. And I could have done and should have done a better job. I want to learn from that experience. I want the agency and department to learn from that experience, and I want us to be stronger for it. I want to renew the commitment of this department to a new era in civil rights. I want to close the chapter on a very difficult period in civil rights. So I accept responsibility, and I don't think the buck stops with me, as it should.
Shirley Sherrod is with us now in New York, her first live interview since getting a new job offer from Secretary Vilsack. Ms. Sherrod, what did you think, first of all? Were you satisfied with Secretary Vilsack's apology?
Yes, I was satisfied with it. In fact, I told him I appreciated the apology, and I know that we need to try to move forward from here.
He said that he offered you another job at the USDA. What was the job, and are you going to accept it?
Well, I haven't seen the full offer. He mentioned it. He mentioned something in civil rights with the Office of Outreach. I just don't know. I told him I need time to think about it, and I truly do need time to think about it.
What's the thought process? I mean, has this changed your belief in the agency? What's the thought process?
Well, I know the Secretary says that we need to deal with the issue of civil rights. I believe he's convinced that we do need to do that. I need to know that the department is truly wanting to do that, and that would mean more than just the Secretary of Agriculture. That's why I would want to weigh the seriousness of others and their commitment to once and for all ridding the USDA of the civil rights issues, the discrimination issues that have been there for so long. You know, I wouldn't want to be someone just out there swimming in the river all by myself, and the burden of discrimination is placed on me. I haven't actually seen the offer in writing. He did say he would send that to me by email, and I was actually on a flight in Atlanta when he told me that. I just arrived here in New York, so I haven't had a chance to look at just what it is he's offering yet.
Yesterday, when we talked, you had said, based on what you had initially been told, you thought that this had come from the White House initially, that the White House wanted you fired. They have all day said today they did not weigh in on this in advance, that this was a decision by Secretary Vilsack. A, do you still believe that this originally came from the White House? And if so, do you think the president owes you an apology?
Well, I firmly believe that if not the president, someone there at the White House was involved in that. You know, he's the president of the United States of America. And I've received an apology from the secretary. It would be great to talk to the president, but, you know, I would not insist upon an apology from him.
When I don't know if you heard Andrew Breitbart today saying, you know, not really apologizing, but saying he felt sympathy toward you because this was made to be about you and not the NAACP. Do you buy that?
No, I don't. You know, it was all about me to get at the NAACP. If he wanted to just get at the NAACP, he should have figured out a way to go directly at them. He knew exactly what would happen when he put that tape out there in the way that he did, and he knew I would be the fall guy for that.
What do you think his motivation was?
You know, exactly what was happening in the very beginning. He set out, he didn't care who he destroyed to try to do whatever it is. I wish I could understand why they want to divide so much. I don't understand the thinking that he and so many more like him have. You know, they don't care. What is it they're after? Why is it that they cannot think that we can all live and work together in this great country?